So you know the saying, it'll be a cold day in hell, kind of referring to something that's very unlikely to happen. Well, maybe you might want to go buy that lotto ticket. Maybe you might want to ask that smoking hot chick out because a cold day in hell just happened. And you know why? It's because of this Frost Nova Sorceress. Of course, there's a ton of different ways to build every single character. Let me know down in the comments any ways that you like to rock this particular build. But the Frost Nova Sorceress, very interesting. It's built a lot like the Energy Shield Nova Sorceress, the lightning version. But this one, being a Frost Nova, a little bit different. You get a little more safety from that Frost Nova. But I will admit, you get a little bit less damage output than you do from standard Nova. But if you do want to try something a little bit different, give this one a whirl. First of all, the character screen right here, we got just enough strength to wear our gear. We threw on a few pieces that did bump us up a little bit higher. So you got to get over 156 to wear a Spirit Monarch. That's what we're rocking on this particular build. Right here at Dexterity, we didn't add any extra points. Vitality, we actually added no extra points either because this is an Energy Shield variant. Now we got all of our base points dumped in down here on energy. So energy is both what we use to cast our spells, and it is actually our life when you're rocking Energy Shield. Our resistances actually land pretty dang good because we do have the Spirit Shield on there, and poison is, with Energy Shield, one of the more important ones because the damage from the poison doesn't apply towards the Energy Shield. It goes towards your life instead of your energy. So getting that one up higher is absolutely crucial, along with getting other gear pieces to help you survive and not have to worry about poison damage. Taking a look at this skill tree right here, of course, the 1-point wonder into warmth, and the rest getting this up to 15 is just from all the plus skills from the gear. Over on the lightning skill tree, we're actually going to go ahead and utilize Energy Shield like I mentioned a few different times before. So we want to get 1 point all the way down here to Energy Shield. We went ahead and capped this out. And of course, no matter what point you're at on this particular build, you want to have 1 point to teleport and 1 point in telekinesis. They're absolutely clutch and crucial. But because telekinesis, you see right here, is a synergy for Energy Shield, we went ahead and maxed that out as well. Now, you're not going to be able to quite max out both of these unless you're as high a level as this character right here, which is level 99, along with having all of your plus skills. So I would not be surprised if you're like level 90, if this is going to be like level 15 and level 15, something along there. But if you are all the way up here, we got these both completely capped out. So I will mention, for 99% of people, you are going to want to get that one hard point into static. I'm just doing something super hyper specific with this build currently that I don't really need it. But for the average person, absolutely get that 1 point into it. Now jumping over the skills, the cold spells, this is where obviously a majority of our points are going. So we do get the 1 point wonder into frozen armor. Good way to get some defense right there. Might as well do it. It's kind of a standard on any sorcerer's build, but we want to go ahead and max out Frost Nova right here. So we got 20 base points. These synergies are actually Blizzard and Frozen Orb. So we actually get down to those, max out Blizzard, max out Frozen Orb. Now, depending on how high of a level your character are, how far in the progression you're at, you may want to have more points into Cold Mastery than what I have right here. But when you have so many plus skills, just one base point gets you all the way up to minus 140 cold resistance. And that's going to be absolutely spectacular right there. That's really, if you're farming areas that have no cold immunes, the standard places, the ancient tunnels, the stony tombs, things along those lines that have no cold immunes, so you're not using a Sunder Charm, breaking their immunities, minus 140 is more than enough, really. It's actually a great spot to be at. There's actually more minus res on some of the gear I'm using right here, kind of what I recommend the average person use. So if you have great gear and great endgame gear like I have right here, just a 1 point wonder into Cold Mastery is what you're going to want to do. But you get all your damage out of maxing out the Frost Nova, maxing out Blizzard, maxing out Frozen Orb, because those are the two synergies. Now looking at the gear here, and of course I'm going to go over some examples of other things to use. And actually this right here is what I recommend probably 90% of people use, if not even 95%, but this isn't actually what I am using currently, and I'll explain why as I go through. But if there's any other options, let me know down below in the comments, other things you like to use on this particular build if you do use this ever. So first of all, we got a Death's Fathom. It's not rolled great. It put a pretty good facet in it, but I wanted to use it for style points because Ethereal Death's Fathom. So the best Death's Fathom you can with the best facet you got. The other options, of course, there is Oculus. That's actually what I'm using right now because I specifically really want to find Ethereal's Might, or really any rare uniques for that matter. Isted Oculus has 80 Magic Find, so that is an option. Heart of the Oak, of course, is a great option as well with everything that's on there. And if you're more budget, I don't know that I'd necessarily use this build with budget gear personally, but Spirit Sword, of course. Now, one I didn't mention is over on the weapon, there is the rune word Doom that gives you a bunch of minus cold res, but with the cold mastery already giving you so much minus cold res, and like I said, I don't generally go to a place that has cold immunes with this particular build. I don't feel that there's really an instance where I would want to use that personally. If you're using a Frost Nova Sorceress, the damage output isn't there with a Mosaic Assassin or a Hammerden or even the standard Nova Sorceress. So I would generally take this build and kind of stick to areas that it's inherently good at. And if you're using those places where there are no cold immunes, I feel like the extra minus cold res is kind of a waste at that point. That's why I would personally recommend the extra plus cold skill damage actually here. On the Death's Fathom, or going with that Isted Oculus. Up on the helmet, getting more damage if possible, we have a Nightwing's Veil right here. Once again, mine did not roll particularly good, but is what it is. Other options up on the helmet, of course, Shaco, duh. That's what all sorcerers, tons of casters use all the time, and that's actually what I use right now because of the extra magic find hunting those super rare uniques, which I love to do, and kind of just any of the budget options for any sorceress if you're going to try to swing a budget version of this build. Down to the armor, if you're rocking energy shield sorceresses, Viper Magi is kind of just absolutely goated, to be perfectly honest. Now, there are versions that maybe you're going max Vita or something along those lines, where you could go ahead and throw an Enigma over here or a bunch of other different caster options, but really Viper Magi, Enigma, probably the go-tos for this build. Jumping down to the gloves, and because I'm using this energy shield version, getting these frost burns with the 40% increased maximum mana, absolutely great right there. We don't need any more FCR, so I don't need to use Mage Fist or Tranks Gloves, but if you're in a situation where you do need that FCR, feel free, by all means, use one of those two options. Taking a look at the belt, we got a Rakd's Mesh. This is just a super obvious choice for any caster, specifically sorceresses for sure here in Diablo 2 Resurrected. If you're not using this one, you're using something like a caster belt or just any random rare belt pretty much. There's not a whole lot of better options underneath the Rakd's Mesh, unfortunately. Jumping over to the boots, right here we got Sandstorm Treks. They're a great option for any energy shield variant of a sorceress because of the massive amount of poison res they have. And when you're using energy shield, like I mentioned earlier, the poison damage does not apply to the energy or to your mana, it actually applies to your life. Energy shield does not actually take it up, unlike with fire, lightning, and cold damage. It does get taken up by the energy shield and then applied to the mana. So there's a ton of bazillion different options on boots, whether you're going to go with something like War Travs, some tri-res boots, some rare ones that you find are pretty good along the way, or maybe even some Silkweeds, but there's a ton of different options you could use in the boot space. Now, looking at the shield here, we got the Spirit Monarch. It's obviously absolutely amazing for sorceresses. As for other options over here, you could go with a 4-faceted shield. I suppose that would work, but personally, I'm not going in any areas where there are any cold immune, so I'm not like breaking their immunity, needing the minus res to get the damage speed up like that. But that is an option, but that's maybe not what I would necessarily recommend. I'll leave that choice up to you. Now, of course, the rings and the amulets. Now, on the amulet, I don't know if you're necessarily going to be able to get something like this. I'm a magic finder at heart, of course, so I thought it was pretty cool and a great use to use this magic one with 3 cold skills and 33 magic find. Now, as for another option you could use, of course, Mara's is going to be perfectly fine. We don't really need any more FCR, but if you got a good caster amulet, you go ahead and throw something like that on up here as well. Now, because skills, of course, are important, and getting more mana is important since mana is actually our life, we have a Stone of Jordan right here, absolutely clutch, and you could go ahead and use 2 Stones of Jordans. I would completely understand. I went ahead and actually have a Nagel Ring over here, just to get a little bit more magic find, but that's going to be up to you. 2 SOJs is probably the preferred method for both the rings. Over on swap, it's kind of a no-brainer, but yeah, if you didn't know, Call to Arms right here, and of course another Spirit Shield to get that Call to Arms a little higher. When we're looking down the inventory, of course, if you got a torch, use it. If you got an Annie, absolutely use it. If you got a Geeds, you're going to want to use that as well. Now, I have cold skillers all the way across here, the best you can get. If you can't get all cold skillers, I completely understand. I always try to get 1 5 FHR small charm down here in the inventory, because that 5 added to the 55 that's on the Spirit Shield actually gets you to 60 faster hit recovery, which is a break point for the sorceress. Now the rest across the bottom, because of I'm a magic finder at heart, I got 7 magic find small charms all the way across the bottom, but I'll leave it up to you to choose what you put down there. Now we'll take a look at the mercenary. Once again, Act 2 mercenary, like I use these on almost all of my builds. Getting that free aura is absolutely amazing. And just like the regular Nova Sorceress, we're going with the prayer mercenary. Now this actually regenerates the life of you and your mercenary right there. So it just replenishes really slow though with the prayer aura. That was before the actual synergies that you get from the meditation aura and the cleansing aura on a couple other pieces of gear. First off, the meditation aura here on the insight. Now meditation will replenish your mana super fast, but because it's actually a synergy for prayer, it actually helps out with that. So the prayer aura replenishes your life, and it goes even faster because of the synergy that comes along with meditation. But wait, there's more. You actually get another synergy with cleansing aura right here, so that causes your health to shoot up crazy fast. And really, your health pool is pretty low because you don't put any points into vitality. So it actually, when it gets taken down a little bit, the part that doesn't get eaten up by energy shield, it shoots up pretty dang fast. Cleansing aura is also awesome because it gets rid of poison. If you are poisoned, gets rid of it very quick. And any curses you get on you, if you get amped up or anything like that, they'll go away much faster than when you don't have just even this level 1 cleansing aura here on the helmet. Jumping down to the armor, Chains of Honor is a pretty normal option when you go with this particular type because you don't have life leech anywhere else, and that really keeps your mercenary alive. It does have, you know, a bunch of other things, all that res, and just look at all the great stuff that's on that armor. So as for other options, you can usually get an insight no matter what, but if the best you can do is Talisman, Mask, and Treachery, something along those lines, you're still going to do pretty dang good with this build. Alrighty, Phil, but let's see, what can this build actually do? Now, first of all, I don't particularly view this as a player's 8, just absolutely slaughtering, blasting everything. Personally, just my preference, let me know. I maxed this one out at players 3 difficulty, and I'm rocking this. You can still find tons of great stuff, tons of amazing gear, high runes, all that stuff. Yes, the drop rates are a little bit lower on players 3 than players 7 or 8, but personally, with the damage output, this is where I like to use it at. And the very first place I'll show you that it works absolutely amazing is down here in the Stony Tombs. Now, if you don't know, you probably do. Most people do nowadays, but the Stony Tombs doesn't have any inherent cold immunes. Occasionally, a random champion can roll with cold immunity. It happens. And there is one monster, I did say none, but there actually is one that's cold immune. The creeping feature down on the level 2, but really, I just go ahead and skip him most of the time. So you can see the Cold Nova flashing away. And this is on players 3 difficulty, so it's working pretty dang good. Now, I said that I usually rock this on players 3 difficulty. It's not that you can't rock it on a higher players count. You can, and it will work. It will kill stuff, but I just don't feel it feels comfortable. You know, it's just not as fast as I would like it. So I go ahead and just use it on players 3 difficulty. Now, do watch the life. The life's absolutely perfectly fine if you didn't notice, but you know what? The life with the prayer aura and everything, it's not going to go down. Let me go ahead and jump to the other side of the screen and watch the mana. Even when I'm casting, it really ends up perfectly fine. I'm just flashing, and these Frost Novas cost 52 mana apiece. And even though I'm taking damage and casting at the same time, the energy, the mana over here, it barely even flutters, it barely moves, it never drops. So flash down. There's the entire Stony Tombs wrecked. Where's another great spot to use this, Phil? Well, it's down here at this absolute classic, the Ancient Tunnels. This one's been used with cold builds since, well, as long as I can pretty much remember here in Diablo 2, way before Diablo 2 Resurrected even. This one's been absolutely clutch place to go for like Blizzard Sorceresses. Like I said, since the beginning of time. And really, it works exactly the same way. It's the same type of place. You got the zombies, you got the different skeletons. You can just flash. Once again, we're on players 3 difficulty here. And it works really dang good. So in these 2 areas for sure, Frost Nova absolutely clutch. So actually another one that a lot of people probably don't run is this one right here. Another place with no cold immunes. Arachnid's Lair, Frost Nova Rex down here. I will admit though, the density down here, not as great as a lot of other places, but hey, if you want to run someplace that's good for any cold builds, and this one is no exception, down here is actually pretty good. There's no inherent cold immunes. You can wreck stuff pretty dang good. You do get poisoned up pretty bad if you don't have a Cure Helm. And that's one of the things. I haven't used this particular build since before Cure Helm existed. I just started using it more recently and just been having a great time with it. But yeah, like I said, the density down here, not nearly as good as a lot of other places. You can see me teleporting around a lot, just kind of searching for something in the fight, to be perfectly honest. A lot of packs of 1s and 2s here. But if you want to run somewhere different, like I mentioned a second ago, check out down here the Rakton's Lair with this Frost Nova Sorceress. And then, of course, another place where there's definitely no cold immunes. The Secret Cow level? Now, this is currently terrorized, and actually, I didn't put any points into static because I have no intentions of actually using this out here generally. Putting 1 point into static is going to give you a bunch of distance on it right there. But let's just take a look and see exactly how this would work out here in the Secret Cow level. And this is terrorized at the maximum level with no static. If I hit them with a couple of statics and then started flashing, this would be way faster. And actually, this is working pretty dang good. Considering I'm not even using static, this would be so much faster. Well, interesting. Just wanted to see what that was real quick. The thing is, too, is the survivability, because everything is frozen from you flashing, so you can just tele-stomp the cows, even at the highest level terror zone, and get flashing. I am actually really dang impressed by this right now. So yeah, what I would do if you plan on doing a lot more areas with the skill tree, the one thing that I would change for probably 90% of people is I would definitely get that 1 point into static, just for the instance here and there, maybe out here like this, where you'd want to go ahead and put that point in and go ahead and static down these packs. Because yeah, I'm real impressed with how good this is working out here at Cows.